Hello there, everyone, and a very happy Thursday to you. Hope everyone is doing well, and I hope you are all having a wonderful day. My name is Sarah. I am super excited to be here with you today. I've got some absolutely gorgeous new product to show you today. This is the Wicked Woods collection. This is new from Arden and new from designer Katie Petit. So we're going to be playing with some of the papers, decoupage papers, and embellishments from this line. In fact, let me give you a little quick sneak preview here. Now, you may have seen some projects already online featuring these absolutely gorgeous designs. The Arden design team has really created some beautiful different projects, different kinds of projects, layouts, cards, and other paper crafts. But you can see how easy it would be to be inspired by this beautiful color palette. So we're going to be working with the Wicked Woods 12 by 12 paper pad. I'm also going to be using some of the decoupage papers today, as well as the rub-ons and the laser cuts and some epoxy stickers too. And we'll talk about a couple of different techniques, including some mixed media techniques, really simple ones where we're layering pattern papers, decoupage papers, and rub-ons together. And I think you will be inspired by all of the things that you can do with this beautiful collection. Now, one other thing that I want to let you know about is this really cool opportunity it's that Arden is putting together for this live. So as you're watching today's live, hopefully you'll get inspired with some of the techniques enough to create your own layout. So if you can create a woodland themed layout, now it could be something like I've got a woodland themed photo on here. It could be something like this. It could be a 12 by 12 page. It could be a smaller page if you want to, utilizing one of the techniques. So one of these layering mixed media techniques, and you post it in the Arden Facebook page. You've got until 31st of August. And then you could be in to win 50 pounds worth of Wicked Woods collection. So you just need to make sure that you're using Arden product. That could be the cardstock. It could be any of the other collections. I was looking through some of my papers and I thought, oh, like Hidden Creek could work. You could also use Laurel Grove. You could use Garden Chronicles, whatever you've got in your stash. But you've got a great opportunity to get your hands on some of these beautiful products today. And more details are in the chat as well. Now, as far as the techniques that we're going to be working with today, I'm going to show you again a little closer look here of the card project that you probably saw posted online. Now, when we're talking about layering and doing these mixed media techniques, you'll see I've got a beautiful pattern paper here in the background. I've also got two layers up on top. I've got some decoupage paper, which is this light paper here, and a rub-on here. I've also got some embellishments, of course, too. And for my layout, it's a little tricky with the light here, but we'll take another look when I change my camera around. You can see here down at the bottom that we've got some nice layers with rub-ons and the decoupage paper, as well as our patterned paper there too. So let's have a closer look. What I thought we could do is I'll show you again a closer look at those projects. We'll look at the different products that I'm playing with today because it's kind of hard to see what we're layering unless you see what the original is. And then I'm going to get into the demonstration and show you some ways to put these things together. So I'm going to change down my camera here. We can take a closer look. As we're going live, please feel free to post in on the comments if you have any questions, if you have any comments you'd like to share. Let us know where you're watching from. We always love to know, and we can say hi to you. Alrighty, so looking again at our scrapbook page, I'm going to bring this up closer to the camera so that you can see here, especially around this corner. I've got my photo matted onto some cardstock here, as well as pattern paper. Then I've got some decoupage paper here. We'll talk more about what makes decoupage paper so special. And then I've got some rub-ons here overlapping the decoupage paper, the pattern paper, and each other. So lots of different layers here, but it's all flat. Then up here at the top corner, again, I want to show you another little look here at applying a rub-on right on top of the glossy photo. And this is extending past the matted photo, actually onto, again, some more of that decoupage paper. So we've got some fun things to talk about with the layout. With our card project, again, pattern paper here in the background. I also kind of want to point out with this spider web or cobweb pattern decoupage paper, I want you to notice that it extends past the outside edge of that frame so that I've got this sort of blending into that pattern paper background there too. And this is just one of the wonderful ways that you can use the decoupage paper, especially in combination with your pattern designs. So let's get started, and we can start with our card project. And let's take a look first of all at the supplies that we're using, not only for our card, but also for our album page. Now, I showed you before the Wicked Woods 12 by 12 paper pad. There's also a 6 by 8 paper pad too. And you can see just by looking here on the front of the cover, all of these gorgeous designs. So just at a quick glance, you can see that they're all over patterns. You've got some beautiful borders, some faux texture here, and it's always nice to flip through and have a look. Absolutely stunning. Everything is designed, of course, to coordinate. They are double-sided. You've got 2 sheets of all of these designs in here. Here's one that I think is just beautiful. As you're looking at these, you probably notice that they are already collaged. Even this one that reads as a solid, you can see that there's a faint pattern back here. You have already some faux texture printed onto these papers. Here's another one of my favorites, and look at what is on the other side. Absolutely gorgeous. So these can work nicely for your backgrounds of your 12 by 12 papers. They also work beautifully for cards and other paper crafts too. Here's another look at the same design with the spider webs on there. It does go into a Halloween theme, but it also works really nicely for general autumn pages and cards too. And when I get to the back here, there are 2 sheets included that are kiss cut designs. And these are images that will just pop right out of this backing sheet here. And they're a nice sturdy weight. You can add them with your regular adhesive. You can pop them up with foam tape. What's nice about these is that they are double-sided, which means that you've got, of course, the butterflies are going to be double-sided like so. But with some of these smaller pieces here where you've got the words and sentiments on the other side, you have, so here are the words. On the other side, you've got blank, but you still have this really cool edging around the outside. So you can do your own thing. Same thing here with these file folder tabs. These are also double-sided too. So again, lots of different options with your pattern papers, but it is just a gorgeous collection. Then to go along, we're also playing with another kind of paper, which are decoupage papers. Now, a lot of people have questions about decoupage papers and kind of like what they are and how to use them, which is why I'm really glad that we're playing with them today. So the set has 4 designs. You can see them all on here. You get 3 sheets each. I love this because it means that you have a little bit more, perhaps a bit more freedom in mixing and matching them. And also one sheet will go a long way. It's 6 by 8 inches. But it's also really nice to have multiple sheets so that you can do different types of crafts with them. So here are the 4. We've got, again, this kind of spider web effect, which I used on the card. You've got this really beautiful kind of label collage design, the butterflies, and then this absolutely knockout design with the all over kind of woodland theme. But what I also want to show you, and that's why I've got my white and my black cardstock, because the decoupage paper is slightly translucent. I think you can probably see my hand underneath here. You've got some really cool options when you're layering this. And it starts with the color or the light versus dark of whatever you're putting this onto. So this is a nice lightweight paper. You might think of it kind of like a slightly sturdier tissue paper. If you've ever worked with rice paper or mulberry paper, one difference would be that it doesn't have those paper fibers that are a little bit tricky to cut or tear around. This is totally smooth. But have a look. When I put this onto the white background versus what it looks like on a black background. So put the two together and you can really see the difference. If you put it onto a white background or a light background, this will really pop out and be quite high contrast. This will blend a little bit more into a dark background. So this is probably the most obvious of those, but let's look at the other ones too. So we'll add a little bit more pattern on here. And again, you can see how this side is popping up. This side, it's going to blend more into the background. There's not a right or wrong way to go. It's just something to have a look at as you're choosing what you're layering onto. Let's look at the butterflies. Again, light versus dark. Of course, you could use both. That looks kind of cool too. So you can do lots of different options there. And then with our absolutely gorgeous forest scene, have a look at it on the white and on the black. And then you can really see the difference between the two and where the lighter elements in the background design will pop up off of that white and the darker parts are going to fade into that dark background. Just beautiful, and so many different ways that you can use these. Now we'll talk about how you can layer them, cut them, tear them, glue them. That's going to be part of our demo as well. But I just wanted to show you sort of what they look like when they're up against different colors, because that really is step one in how you're going to choose your background sheets. All right, so some more products here. Rub-ons. I absolutely love them. They are integral to creating layered elements and they can be applied onto lots of different surfaces, including pattern paper, including decoupage paper. So this set, you got 4 designs, 2 sheets each. You can see them on here. How gorgeous are these though? Just have a look. So beautiful. They can be used as a really simple focal point on a card, message on the inside or the outside of a card. I like all of these collage pieces here. And this one is just stunning. You've got these little snippets and the blotches. And then of course, this great big element. I don't have an idea for this piece yet, but I just absolutely have to use it. Same thing with this image here, which is so gorgeous. I have to figure out what I'm going to do with it. So if you guys have any ideas, what would you do with this beautiful rub-on designed scrapbook page, card, tag? Let me know. This is another one that I'm really intrigued by. And then here also is my spider web effect, which I used on the card too. So another one of those beautiful sort of fading into the background designs. So those are our rub-ons. Now with the rub-ons, you also get an applicator too. And I will demo how to use the rub-ons. Super simple to do. Okay, so then last but not least, oh, actually, sorry, not last and definitely not least, we've got our laser cuts. And here you've got 2 sets included. You've got words, you've got elements that will just pop right out of the backing sheet. And you can use glue, you can use foam tape to apply them onto your project. And what's nice about these two, let me grab out this little mushroom collage. These are also double-sided, which is really useful if you want your piece to be facing a certain direction, depending on how it works in your composition. So this is really nice too. And these designs are gorgeous. Again, images, florals, as well as words and sentiments. And then finally, we're coming to the last, again, not the least, but our epoxy stickers. I'm going to be using these as accent pieces. I love the little dots. I also really love this kind of faux sealing wax design. There are little pumpkins on here, really just very thoughtfully curated. So as usual, Katie has done a beautiful job in creating something that is super inspiring and really easy to use too. Hi, Davina. Nice to see you. I see Davina popping into the comments. As you're joining us, everybody, please do give a wave. Let us know that you're here. We love to say hi to you. Alrighty, so I'm going to get started with the first project here, and let's talk about combining these different elements. And I'll start by showing you what I'm starting out with. So this is my background paper. And sometimes I think people feel like you have to use a 12 by 12 pattern paper for a 12 by 12 page and that's it. But you can absolutely cut these apart and use them on cards. And in fact, this is the section up here that I'm using of this design. So I've just trimmed this out. I placed it onto my card, which I first covered with some black cardstock from Arden. So I've got some nice contrast in there. And then I'm layering up on top of that with my decoupage paper. As well as my decoupage paper, I've got, remember, this little portion here with our spider web. I'm going to call it a spider web. It's not a cobweb, it's a spider web. I've got both in the corners, some of the corners in my apartment. And I'm layering this one up on top of this one, on top of this one. So we've got all of our elements ready to go, and then I've got some accents on here too. Hello from Brazil. Oh, hello to Brazil. That's amazing. Love to hear where people are watching us from. It's great to see that there are folks from all over the world. Alrighty, I'm going to get my things out and let's have a look at how to actually glue this down and some different options for us. So I figured we could start with a different decoupage paper design because I wanted to show you this one and talk a little bit about some different things you can do with this design in particular. I've got my patterned background paper, which again, this is already collaged. We've already got some kind of faux scuffing and texture on here. We've got some script on here. And you could add things to this paper and be ready to go. You can also really use it to build up some layers. This is the other side. So I could, if I wanted to, add this on here. And I think you can really see where their stripes are showing through the translucency of our decoupage paper. You can also use it on this more subtly patterned design. So you've got lots of different options. Now, two questions that people have about using decoupage paper. First of all, do you cut it? Do you tear it? How do you kind of get into it? Do you have to use the whole sheet? No, you don't. And then the second thing is, how do you sort of stick it down? You may not want to use your double-sided tape with this. I've got a couple of other options, so we'll talk about those and I'll show you what I'm using. But in terms of utilizing the decoupage paper itself, you can do a couple of different things. You can grab your scissors and cut out some of the elements like the butterflies individually if you want to, and then you can glue those into your project. You can also just cut this into strips with your scissors. You can tear it with your fingers. You can also tear it with a little bit more of a free-form shape using some water. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm working on my craft mat here. I've got a water brush and some clean water, cleanish water. And I'm just going to sort of paint a shape around here, a loose sort of square right on here. Now, when I go to tear this apart, it's sometimes easier to work from the reverse side of the paper because you can see that line a little bit better. And then I'm just going to follow the line and gently separate this. Now, if you have worked with rice paper before, you know that sometimes with rice paper, you bump into those fibers there and you have to snip those apart with your scissors. You don't have to do that with the decoupage paper. On here and simply pull those apart like so. And then I've got my torn piece. Now, what I like about this is I've got those feathery edges that will sort of blend into my background. If I wanted to have something that was a stricter line, if you will, what I could do is grab a ruler or a straight edge. I can tear along this like so and get an edge that is a little bit more uniform. I could also work in with that wet brush, and that can be a water brush or a paintbrush, whatever you have on hand. And then I can create an edge that looks like this. So again, different options there for how you want to use your paper. Of course, you can use the entire sheet if you want to. That's also an option. Okay, let's dry this off a little bit here. And let's talk about gluing. So when it comes to sticking your decoupage paper onto your background paper, your surface, if I'm gluing paper to paper, there are a couple of different options that I consider. So the first thing, traditional, inexpensive glue stick. Now I'm going to save this for our scrapbook page because that's where I really use it. And I want to show you a little technique with that. But you can definitely use a plain old glue stick. You can also use your white craft glue. And in the US, if you have a Elmer's glue, if you've got Mod Podge, that also works. This is just one of those classic white glue, dries clear, easy to use. This will work as well. Or you can use a matte medium. And this is a golden soft gel matte. This is an acrylic medium that works as an adhesive. And this is one that I really like. You don't have to use, now Golden is a brand that is maybe a little bit on the pricier side. You definitely don't need to use the Golden brand. You can use other brands. You can use the craft store brand. That will also probably do the trick. I'm using Golden because I'm actually taking an art workshop, and this is one of the items on our supply list. So I had this on hand, and I thought, let's put this to use. I have to say, it is really, really nice to use, though. But if you're crafting on a budget and you want something a little bit less expensive, my go-to in the US would be something like Mod Podge. You can probably find a good store brand, though, wherever you are shopping. Okay, so I've got another brush here with it's a little bit wider, and just whatever craft or art brush you happen to have on hand. And what I'll do is I'm going to apply my adhesive onto the paper that I'm placing my decoupage paper onto. It's just easier. This isn't super wispy, or it's probably not going to get stuck to itself, but I do find it easier to apply the adhesive here rather than having something that's a little bit lighter weight. So just pick up a bit of this. You don't need a whole lot. I'm going to put just a bit down here. I think you can probably see the shine of that. And then I'm going to position this right on top. And I'm going to smooth from the center out to the edges. And then from here, just go over the top and out on those edges to make sure that everything is connecting so that those edges are nicely laying flat. You don't need a lot of adhesive. This is something that I often tell people, especially when it comes to card making and scrapbooking. Sometimes I think we get whatever adhesive we have and we think we really need to use a lot of it, but it turns out starting with a lighter touch is probably more effective. You can always add more later. Okay, so I think I've got all of those edges down. The other nice thing about the decoupage paper is that unlike something really, really thin, this really doesn't, I'm not fighting with like air bubbles. This really doesn't have that air bubble tendency that sometimes can happen with other types of thin and lightweight paper. So I've got this all on here, just need to let this dry. Now, 2 tips, do make sure whatever adhesive you're using to put the lid on so it doesn't dry out. and also to put your brush, if you're using one, back into your water. Otherwise, you won't have that brush for a whole lot longer. Okay, so letting this dry won't take too long, depends on what I'm using and the temperature where I am. But I've got a piece that I did this morning, and this is all dry. So I'm ready to go. And if I hold this up here, I think you can see how those edges are just blending right into that patterned background. Really nice, really easy. Okay, so place this down here, and now I'm going to add my rub-ons. So I thought we could do one of the leaves here. I really am intrigued by this beautiful leaf. So to remove this from the main sheet, I'm going to grab some scissors and just trim this out. I'm keeping the two layers together though, but I do want to make sure that I'm not touching the back of this until this is ready to go down in place. So pull this off and then kind of hold this and figure out where I might want this to go. Let's see. Let's position this like so. Okay, and then I'll just smooth this down. I'm going to kind of fold up one corner here so I have something to grab onto. And then I will just burnish this in place. Now the rub-ons are great for so many different types of crafts. I really like them for card making because if you're mailing cards, especially cards overseas, you will find that you can run into some issues if your cards are too dimensional, they're too bumpy, they can be expensive or require more different postage or different types of envelopes. I've had that happen as well. So it's nice to have something that creates lots of layers but is still flat. Okay. Now, what I'll do from here is just gently, whoops, make sure I cut this all on here, gently and slowly pull this up. Now I'm working slowly rather than like yanking it off like a Band-Aid, because if something does not transfer, I can put this back in place and keep burnishing. I want to give myself that option just in case. All right, and there we go. So I got this transferred onto my rice paper and also off onto my scrapbook paper there too. And again, really just such an easy technique to do. Beautiful. Now, the other thing I can do from here is I can stop. I can also add more rub-ons too. I can add in other shapes on top of this. I could have some more of these blotches, or I think these borders are really cool. You could just keep going and going and going with this. I'm going to restrain myself though for now and let this be as an inspiration for a couple of different ways that you can combine these. Now just think, I've got a fairly light pattern paper back here, a fairly light decoupage paper on top, and then this dark leaf. You can reverse any of these color combinations. So you could start with a darker background. Remember we had this stripe. You could use one of the lighter ones of the decoupage paper. You can really mix and match and do lots of different things with this simple layering technique. Really fun and easy to do, and also fairly quick to do too. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you here with my card project that I've got this all sort of inside this frame element. Now the frame is from the 12 by 12 set, and it's one of these guys here. So remember, these are kiss cut, and they'll pop out like so. The frames are nested, which is nice. So you've got some elements inside here. I think you can see where that pumpkin came from too. And then you can just pop out this part as well. And this will give you your frame. The frame is also double-sided too. So I've just popped this right on here, glued that on top. And that does create a really nice frame around my image here. Let's see. I'm just going to look for my other piece. That you could simply pop this down on here. And you can have that extending past. It could be right in the center. So again, lots and lots of different ways that you can put that to use. And then I've got my combination of the pumpkin. This is from the 12 by 12 set. I've got the laser cuts. So I've got a leaf element here. I've got this beautiful butterfly. She's popped up with some foam tape. So are these. And then I've got the sentiments, tricks this way, treats also this way, but they're pointing in different directions. And those are elevated with some foam tape on there too. And then I have a little jute twine tied into a bow on that pumpkin. And I just think this is a really fun and great way to layer up some of those elements. It's not necessarily a Halloween card, although I guess you could, it kind of skews that way. But I think it's just such a beautiful combination of absolutely gorgeous elements. From the brilliant mind of Katie Kurtzy. I just love her design style, and I think this collection is outstanding. All righty, let's have a look at the scrapbook page, and we can talk a little bit about some of these techniques here too. Now, here I've also got a couple of different things going on. Overall, with our page, you can see I've got, again, another one of those gorgeous layered background papers, which is this one right here. So like I'm already starting out with something incredibly gorgeous. You've got the florals and the butterflies. Everything is layered up onto what looks like old ledger paper. You've got some script. You've got the numbers and the writing on here. So beautiful. Here's the other side. I'll show you this because it's got that really nice faux texture on here too. And for my photo mat, I'm using this design. So just have a look how easily these go together, how easily these would go together too. And from here, I'm building up. So I've matted my large photo, and then I've got two smaller photos here graduating in size. So I've got three all together in a couple of different sizes. I've got vertical and horizontal photos positioned on here. I've got some overlapping. This is in the beautiful city of Heidelberg, Germany. If you have not been there, I recommend it because in the autumn, it looks like this. And I just thought it was a perfect combination with our pattern papers today. And then from here, I've got my matted photo layered up on some torn pieces of that decoupage paper. So here's a little bit underneath here. I've got some more up here at the top corner, those butterflies. And then I've got another piece of the, I'm calling it the labels paper, decoupage paper down here with the rub-on layered on top and then another rub-on here. So again, lots of things going on with that layering. Then I've got my rub-ons going, overlapping onto my photo. So this is a glossy printed photo, and I've got another one up here at the top corner. So let's have a look at gluing our decoupage paper with a glue stick, because that's what I've done here. And that gives me a really nice and easy option for creating some additional dimension by just rolling those edges there. So let's have a look. I've got my decoupage paper clipped together because I had it just laying on my work surface and I put some other things down and it fluttered away. So I thought, oh, I better hold it down in place here, make sure it doesn't run away from me. So let's combine the two of these. Now, of course, this could go on any of these different background papers. This would be pretty together like this. You can go like this. You can layer them on top of each other. But let's, again, I have to restrain myself. And I'm going to grab my glue stick. This is one that I get at my local drugstore. So nothing particularly special. Any one of your glue sticks will work the same way. And again, I'm going to put this onto my background paper. And then I'm just going to place this on here. Again, starting kind of in the center of my paper and smoothing it out from there. Also, again, I don't need to use a ton of glue stick, just enough to make sure that I've got contact on there. I've got bit of the edges here. I could add a little bit more and smooth that down. And it's not going to show through, so I don't need to worry about that. But from here, I've got these loose edges, and I can simply roll these up so that I'm getting a cool kind of torn dimensional look. Now I may want to roll up those edges and kind of scrunch them or distress them, and then come back and add a little bit more glue under here. You can do that too. This is also a nice way if you want to perhaps do some edging with an ink pad along those edges before you glue this down so that you've got even more dimension on there. So the humble glue stick can also work really nicely when you're working with those decoupage papers. That's also another possibility. And it will fold in there really nicely, and it's not going to show through. That's the other great thing. With adhesives and anything that's slightly translucent or transparent, that's always the trick, is making sure that it's not something that will show through. So that's what I've got going on there. Now, the other technique I want to show you, I've got so many. This whole set is just such a delight to work with. So many different things that you can do with it. So I've got my photo mounted up here onto some of this patterned paper. Here's the one on the other side. The hardest thing, I think, about working with this collection is which side of those papers you want to use. You want to use them all. And then I've got some rub-ons that I want to apply directly onto my photo. So I grabbed this piece here, which I think is really a fun one. I love this collage sentiment over here with a sort of fragments of different labels. You've got some text, you've got some of those cool lines on there. So let's snip this out and apply it right onto our photo. I've got some open space up here at the top, so I think this is maybe where I'm going to go. Now, what I want to do is have my rub-on extend past my photo. And I have to say too, I printed this at my local drugstore, and when I printed it with a white mat around here. But of course, if you mat your photo onto white cardstock, this can also work. Okay, so I'm just going to position this here, a little bit overlapping. And then to make sure that this isn't going all over the place, mainly on my craft sheet, I'm going to put this back in place underneath. Try and aim it on there. And same thing, smooth this down and come in with my craft stick and just burnish this in place. And this is a fun way to create, again, some overlap between your photo and across the photo mats. When you come to the edge of your photo, you may want to go in kind of at an angle with that applicator and make sure that that really adheres onto both of the surfaces. Don't worry about this part here. You're going to just let that go and concentrate on getting the most of the rub-on transferred. These rub-ons are really a lot of fun, and these papers are just beautiful. I was really excited when I opened the package and I saw these. I love autumn. I am totally ready for autumn. It's too hot in Hamburg, Germany. It's probably too hot wherever you are too. I talked to my mom in Oregon, and she was saying it's incredibly warm there as well. Speaking of my mom, her birthday is this month, and she is also somebody who likes to do a lot of paper crafting, especially card making. And she's really into Halloween these days, doing Halloween cards and autumn greetings. So I ordered her the 6x8 Wicked Woods paper pack, and I can't wait to hear what she thinks of it when it arrives. Alrighty, so I've got this. I've got a little bit kind of hanging off the edge, so I'm just going to smooth that down with my finger. I've got some more left over here. I will probably save this and use it somewhere, but we can tuck that away for now. And you can see that this just transfers really nicely. And it does give another nice effect when you're working with whatever pattern papers and combinations that you're using. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this sheet back in here, that you can simply pop this down and you can see how seamlessly all of these elements will coordinate together. Super simple to do, really easy, and kind of a small touch, a small technique that can add a lot of impact to your projects. So this is one of the techniques that we've looked at today with our overlapping rub-ons onto our photos and paper. We've also done some layering with our rub-ons and our decoupage paper, as well as our rub-ons, pattern papers, decoupage papers, laser cuts, and the whole bit. So hopefully this session has given you some inspiration and maybe a couple of ideas if you want to post something into the Arden Facebook page. So I'm going to reiterate, I know that all the details have been posted up on the comment section too, but if you would like to join us for a special opportunity, you can win a Wicked Woods bundle worth 50 pounds. You just need to create a woodland inspired layout, and you can use a photo. Something like this would work beautifully. The layout can be any size. It could be 12 by 12, it could be 8 by 8, it could be 6 by 8, you name it. It could be a mini album page as well. And then post this into the Arden Facebook group by August 31st. And the winner will be chosen on the 1st of September and will contact you by direct message. And yeah, the winner would receive a gorgeous bundle. I can't wait to see what folks are going to get from the Wicked Woods collection, worth 50 pounds. And trust me, you will want this because it has been so much fun to work with. And I do thank you for joining me today. I'm going to change up my camera again. One more thing that I want to show you, though, is next time for our next studio session, and that's going to be on August 27th, same time, 2 o'clock UK time. We're going to be taking our layering to another level, meaning adding in another layer. And we'll be working with some stencils. So Arden has some really beautiful stencils. And here's one of them, one that I'm going to be working with. I think you can see that a little bit easier if I move this out of the way. We'll talk about how to layer things up, not only with your rub-ons and your pet tape, but also your laser cuts and some stenciling paste. So give you a little bit more inspiration, and then we will see you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a wonderful time. I hope that you love these products as much as I do. I think they're just absolutely inspiring and so much fun to use. A big thank you to the lovely folks at Arden for being behind the scenes today, and to the lovely Katie for designing such an incredible collection. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.